climb up into the back of this monster Jeep with me. The top of the factory cage is cracked. See that crack? Well, there's also another one that started on this side. So this upper bar has started to flex pretty good. I mean, this side is cracked all the way up to here.
Hey, what's up, Brite Nation?
What's up, guys?
So Chris is over here working on Brittany's side chick. We've got the, what are we calling that? I mean, it's just the Jimny for now. I don't know. Little pain in the ass. We'll call it the little pain in the ass for right now.
Little PTA?
Yeah. Yeah, we haven't had good luck with it. So that motor and head is at the machine shop getting decked. So hopefully that go back together. But while we have a free lift spot, we're gonna fill it with the stepchild because this is the list for the stepchild. So we got it done for SEMA. It wheeled, it went off-road, unlike a lot of SEMA builds.
Needs a lot of fine tuning.
There's a lot here, and here, let me just show you what all we need to get done. So the Jimny's almost done. Actually, that could be erased.
Oh yeah,
Boop. Good tires and brakes. Now we gotta put back up there, rebuild the motor again. All right, on the JL, it's pretty crazy. So we have a whole rugged radio set up, M1 radio, so we can talk out and talk to people. We never painted our front steering clamp. You did those. We just we need to cap the tower boxes. Our rear cage is torn, and I'll show you that here in a minute. Got new brake pads, needs a new steering box. We have so much flex that the sway bar gets into the inner fenders, and so we gotta figure out a way to fix that. We may put a bar between the rear towers that he built for the rear coilovers. I'd like to dynamite the interior and the towers because we drive it so much, and I do want to keep it as quiet inside and nice as possible. I know it's the stepchild, but still. We're gonna send the exhaust out to Jet Hot because they coat it and the floors get hot in these Hemi swaps. Chris might build a subwoofer box, so we can have our boom booms again. All the control arm bolts, we got these super big. Well, they're like too long. Our QTP valve is not working properly, so we need a new one or to fix it. We never wound the winch rope properly. Like we just kind of set it in there, and it's not under tension, so you need to wind a winch rope properly. The battery's not secured properly. We just have a strap around it because we weren't doing anything crazy. Missing some skid plate bolts. Maybe put a new battery in it. Oh, so the seats. So as you know, the seats, we just got cat skin to make them some custom seats, and they have the new heating and cooling capable, but it's not accessible because they're not wired. So Chris was gonna need to do a little wiring and add the switch there. And then they will be heated and cooled. Since we took the old buckles off the PRPs, we just need to reattach them to the OEM seats again and wire in the buckle light, the seatbelt light, because we cut the wires because there's no plug for that. So there's some wiring and just like a lot of crap that needs to be done before it's actually like really roadworthy and trail worthy. I mean, we shook it down. You saw us do all those videos, but now it's time to like finish her up. Yeah, it's time to finish her up completely and get ready to get back out on the road, because this year we plan on hitting a whole bunch of trails all over the country. I think we're gonna hopefully try to get up the Pacific Northwest and get out to the Midwest and all the places that we don't normally hit every year. And maybe even down to Mexico. Might go hit up Baja. That'd be fun. So we always just have a yard of broken vehicles. Chris's Audi needs work. That needs a heater core. The Jimny, no motor. He's working on his buddy's Gladiator. His Rover's been doing well. That poor thing, the Braptor, we haven't driven in forever. We still don't have a bumper for it, so the bumper's still pushed up into the fenders and into the flares, where those are all not attached. License plate's just zip tied to the spare tire. That's all the damage from the bumper being shoved up in there. Corvette will come in after the stepchild. The Corvette is getting the new motor, so we have the motor back for that. And then that thing, I don't know whenever that's gonna go. And then the stepchild, look how that, oh my God. This thing is just, oh, so sexy. But she's been sitting for a long time. There's the new interior, new seats. Wish the heater worked right now because these are about to be cold. Yeah. Even got our logo on them. There's the back seats. You know what I should have done? So I should have had them put heaters on the back seats for any rear passengers. Now I'm thinking about that. I wonder if they could have done that. Surely they could have put heating elements in the rear seats. That could have been like the first JL with rear heated seats for anybody that's in the rear. Might have to make a call to them and see if that's something we can do. I mean, I'm just thinking about the people that sit in the rear, you know. Anyway, this is just a thought. Let's go get this baby on the lift. Of course, we got the new exhaust done for MagnaFlow. It's the valve, the QTP valve isn't working, and so it's only slightly cracked open. So that one's like, we got like 10% exhaust coming out of it or something, 20% exhaust coming out. Oh, they made that side, so if I crush it, replaceable.
Yeah, I see that.
So he can just send me another one.
Sick.
But I was like, I don't know what I do about the driver's side. He's like, you mostly crush the passenger side. I think maybe we'll pull the seats out and get those wired up, because that's very important to have the heated and cooled in those in this freezing cold weather. The good news is it's actually already wired. So we'll have to change these buttons out. I don't know if we're gonna leave put the new buttons here or move them to the dash, but the wire's already here. The power's already here for the switches. So we just gotta pull these out and then plug everything into the seat. So that's kind of neat. So I think we're gonna get the stepchild here on the lift and fix the sway bar. You can only go so far before this will invert, and then that's bad. Problem is we have so much travel that the end link here, as we go up, gets into the inner fender liner. So I don't know if we just need a different inner fender liner or if we can cut this down a little bit further. We're pretty close. We can go further, but you gotta really watch this angle. So again, at a certain point, I'm gonna come off the ground. That's gonna invert and either snap the bar or hit other stuff. So I don't know. We're close. We're barely. This is a new one. The old one I'd gotten into, and we're getting into here about 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch. So we're hoping that we can cut this bar down to shorten it. We can get this a little bit more of an angle out of this, but I don't know. It's getting very close. Another thing we're gonna do is, you can see how bad that angle is of the bar. So we're gonna flip this guy to the inside, so that angle is not so bad. And this is only at full droop. Again, these are 14-inch coilovers, so there's a lot of travel in this. The axle still swings, and we even extended the track bar. We took that track bar and went out a couple inches further, so there wasn't as much swing, but there's still, unfortunately, a lot of swing. There's less of an angle here. How that angle's not as bad. So that's why we're gonna flip around the other side. But that is really close to being inverted, if it just gets to that point. But let's work on that first, and then I think we're gonna pull the exhaust and get the jet hot going. And then also we want to mount these cans up in the fender in here, because the up travel, we kind of get into these knobs right here. So, and we couldn't go any higher. So let's work on that first and see what we come up with. Cut off
3/4 off both sides.
Is that what you did?
Just so, yeah, it goes right to it. Look. Ready? Boop.
Oh, it stops. Yeah, perfect.
Right to it. So that's as tight as you can get it anyway.
Again, our biggest issue is making sure we don't invert the sway bar. Because if you go full extension, now that'll never happen flexing it out. It'll only happen if I jump it.
You know what you do? You never go full retard.
You're serious? You don't know. Everybody knows you never go full retard.
So this is not ride height. You can see that gap is huge. We got to come down some, but that's about how you want it at ride height there, or a little bit up. So unfortunately, we're not going to be able to have that like perfect 90 angle there. But when we extend, we'll now see if we're going to be close to inverted or not. We should probably measure end to end on this to make sure this is.
You can't measure end to end. You got to go to ride height, and they have to be comfortable. Oh, exciting! Then you literally just take this guy, and you go until this is like, happy. That's too much. It's nice. It's getting tight again. So it's probably like right in there. That's probably good. Yeah, that side, you just lock one side and you make this side not under tension. That way you know your sway bar is not in tension. Now we'll go to full droop and see what happens. Oh, look at it move. A little more. Get out of here. Oh. I mean, you can't even push that to go flop. And the reason you can't push this one to flop is because that one is still under tension this way. So you can't flop. But that's as far as she's going. And now we have to go back to ride height and see how far we got until it crashes into the fender liner. Which actually, I mean, this is as far as you're going. Man, look at Kevin's penitentiary pants. I like those.
These are my Thailand pants.
Those are his Thailand penitentiary pants. That's when he was in jail in Thailand. Now we go all the way back down. Oh yeah, we're way better than we were. We were way higher. We were way closer. All right, trusty tape measure. How much is left in there? Like freaking not much. 3 inches? So if you go 3 inches here, Yeah, you're not even close. You're gonna be like right here.
So another thing that's crazy with coilovers is like right now I've only got about a third of a tank of fuel. If I have full tank of fuel and put recovery gear and toolbox and stuff in the back, the rear will sit down about an inch and it will bring the front end up almost an inch. So it sits kind of stink bug a little bit when the rear is empty, but as soon as I put stuff in the back, it literally pulls the front end up and sinks the rear down. So like I'm still trying to find that split of where I want it. But then when I jump in the driver's seat, then Brittany or Chris jumps in the passenger seat, then the front kind of dips again. So coilovers are very finicky with that, especially when we're trying to play with, you know, this tight game of an inch and a half, 2 inches there. So we're still dialing that in. So in a previous video, we showed you the super sick exhaust that MagnaFlow did. That's like an OEM setup. So Chris made the exhaust, and MagnaFlow took what he made, and they just made it like OEM.
Mandrel bent.
Yeah, they just made it super, super sick. This pipe here before kind of just had a kind of straight and shot over, where they were able to put a nice little kink in it to clear the upper arm here. So that's nice. And they made me a V-band there. So if I crush that, they can send me another pipe because it's going to be in their system. But now what we need to do is take it all off, because we're going to be sending out to these guys jet hot high performance coatings. Hemis get hot, you know, it's a V8 iron block, a lot of power, 600, this one's like 609 horse. And all these pipes get super duper hot, and the floor gets hot, and everything inside gets kind of hot, and it's just one of those things that you have to deal with. But once we coat it, you can see Chris put a bunch of shielding, heat shielding everywhere, which helps, but that metal does get saturated. So the goal is to send this to jet hot. They're gonna coat the inside and outside. Generally you just get the outside done, but we drive long distances and we drive a lot, and I'm tired of the heat. So I'm gonna be a little extra bougie and have them coat the inside and outside. There's different coatings I think they can do on the inside, and that will really keep the heat really inside the pipes, which actually is good for performance too, because the hotter you keep the exhaust, the faster it flows, and scavenging and all that stuff happens. So we need to pull the pan here, which is kind of, yeah, it's kind of a pain in the ass, but it's okay. We're missing half the bolts because we're tired of taking it on and off and having to deal with it. All right, so we got the exhaust off. A little issue is trying to ship it. Got almost all of it into a box, but there's a little Y pipe here that's not cooperating. It makes it very, very big overall. But we almost got everything in. That's just not going to work out. So I'm going to have to call some friends during the week. And the QTP valve, let me show you this. So this is the exhaust valve. You got a valve here that bolts in, and then it's got a motor. And it looks like they make everything, like the motor here QTP, the connector QTP. Now I've had a couple of these on other vehicles, and every single one of them has failed. So what's funny is I had one on a turbo car. What holds the motor on, so it slides onto here, and then there's just these two bolts that hold this whole motor on. And these little two bolts that are these tiny Allens right here, those came loose and backed out, and this set screw must have backed out because this entire motor fell under the car on the highway and went bouncing down the highway, and I'm hoping it didn't hit anybody. This is a long while ago, and I figured they'd be better, but Chris has already had to tighten these down multiple times. We put a little bit of Loctite on them. You can kind of see we put a little bit on there, but they're Allens, and we don't want to Loctite them in too much and then not be able to get them out. But I don't know why we ever would, other than we're repairing it right now. So if you look, the wires, so this quit working, and we're like, why isn't it working? I don't understand. So I went through, tore it all apart. I'm hoping I laid this all out correctly because there's gears everywhere, and I'm hoping I can put us all back together, but I wanted to pull it apart because it wasn't working, and the fuse was still good. It's got a little tiny like 2.5 amp or 5 amp fuse or something. And anyway, I got this all apart, and the wires were melted together right on the motor.
Which is funny because it didn't pop.
Yeah, I didn't pop the fuse. So we're hoping this is going to work, and I'm thinking once this is back together, we can just power it up and make sure that the motor's going to actually turn before I go try to put this back together, because you have a lot of like screws and everything has to go back in here pretty nicely. So Chris is going to extend the wires a little bit. What our plan is, because right now the wires run together in one sheathing, so what we're going to do is separate them completely. So he's going to do 1 and 1, and we're gonna keep them separated so they can't melt together. And I don't know why they did. I don't know if the exhaust is just that hot, or if the wires just got really hot trying to use the motor and they fused together. But then why wouldn't it pop the fuse like that? I'll recheck the fuse again, but that's obviously it would have just kept blowing. But it's even, and the valve is way back here. Like the valve is literally So all the exhaust all the way through. And so it's not like it's up towards the header. So it's like literally the back quarter of the vehicles where the valve is at. So yeah, I don't know. We'll let you know if this works out. So this was Chris's job to separate those and do that. And mine is going to be to put it back together. And then
I know, you took it apart. I don't know how it goes back together.
I honestly wasn't expecting to repair it. I was just going to take it apart and be like, yep, that's the problem. Let's order another one. They're like $250 and it only lasted like 2 weeks.
Order another one.
We might, yeah. But at least I tried. Okay.
Oh, that's the wrong way.
What? Go, Kevin. It's your birthday.
Nice!
Nice.
So if you remember, Kevin and I got the brand new MagnaFlow exhaust that I built for the Jeep, and we just sent it off to Jet Hot to get coated to keep the belly temperatures down on the stepchild. Every upgrade leaves you with the next weakest link. Sometimes you find that weakest link. Sometimes you leave that weakest link in on purpose so that breaks instead of your expensive parts. When we did the coilovers and I had the roof off of this thing because we had it stripped, we noticed one more weakest link. You climb up into the back of this monster Jeep with me, you will see that the top of the factory cage is cracked. See that crack? Well, there's also another one that started on this side. So this upper bar has started to flex pretty good. I mean, this side is cracked all the way up to here. I don't know if you can see this, but this is a super big crack, which is also another little one right here starting back here. Now that we have so much more flex, the frame flexes pretty substantially, and it has cracked this tower bar. Now, most people say that their Jeeps have started to crack on this bar, usually right here at this seam, or it starts to crack across this seam. And the reason I don't think this Jeep is because we have this rock hard roof bar, and we used to have one across the bottom of the windshield. So it kept a lot of the flex out of this area. I guess it allowed the back to flex even more. So now that that top tower bar is starting to crack, we gotta fix it. So what I'm gonna do is strip the entire interior out of this thing, because we're also gonna dynamat the floor under the carpet to keep because there's a little bit of temperature in there. So we're gonna dynamat the floor. We're gonna finish the towers that I had started, and we didn't really I just gotta put a cap on them. I never did get a chance to finish the caps, but the towers are done, so we're gonna put caps on it. I'm gonna cut this section of the cage out. I'm gonna plate it, and we're gonna build a big triangulated roll cage extension on here. So it'll bolt in. It's also gonna house our reservoirs that we never really had a spot for. They were just kind of tied up onto this bar for now, because I know that they are gonna go under this bar and attach to this down tube that I'm going to create. So this is the next big project on Stepchild, along with wiring in the new front seats and putting all the seatbelt stuff back on the front seats. So now I'm gonna strip the roof off of this thing, all of the interior, all of the carpet, everything all the way to the dash. Everything. We're gonna strip the entire inside of the Jeep. Then I'm gonna start cutting the inside. Passenger seat was way easier than the driver's seat, but they're out. Oh yeah, years of jelly hair under the seat. So now I am gonna take out the center console one more time, which is probably okay, because I remember Kevin saying one of these was off just a little bit, so I have to get in there and play with that anyway. We are gonna strip this up because I am gonna pull this whole carpet out, because I am gonna re-dynamat the floor, the whole floor. So we're gonna take the center console out and the carpet out next. All right, well, we got all the interior pulled including the carpet kit. And I will tell you, it was actually easier than I thought it was going to be. Once you get the center console up, you have to pull this boot off. You have to pull that boot off so that you can get to the bolt that's under here. Then the whole console just comes up. There's a couple connectors under there, and the carpet kit unsnaps pretty easy. And on this side, this sill panel doesn't really fit anymore because there's so much wiring going through here. Like, this is for the ARB. I am going to try to reroute this somewhere else. I am going to look at maybe rerouting this so that this panel clicks back on like it's supposed to. But Kevin's right, the floor does get hot. The carpet was stuck to this seam sealer, which has gotten hot and stuck to the bottom of the carpet. So that's one of the things that we're going to try to insulate this trip this time around. So there, I have some wiring I want to clean up. This right here is for the exhaust valve, which now that I have time, I'll actually put it in the center console piece. So there's a button in the center console instead of this just zip tied to the side. I do have to take out the old heater stuff, which is this one. This is the old seat heater stuff from the PRP seats. I do have to cut all that out and then put the heated and cooled stuff in, which is technically still attached to the back of the seat from underneath. So that'll be easy, but you can see this thing needs a deep cleaning. Probably 3 years of sand and dirt and dust that is in here, and a lot of jelly hair. So we got to clean up all the jelly hair, tidy up all this wiring that was under the carpet. I didn't do any of the under the carpet stuff, so we are going to try to reroute it, clean all that up now that we are this far. Ooh, look, a socket. Let me guess, is that a 10? If that's a 10. Oh, there's a bolt. I don't know what it's for. There's a razor blade over there. I don't know what that was for, but there's a razor blade. What is this? It's a pen. It's part of a pen. Look at that. All right, well, next we're going to go ahead and get this thing deep cleaned, and I'll work on getting this back carpet area out. And then in the morning, I'll probably take the roof off so that we can see how bad that top bar is. Is all gutted, all the plastic is off, and now that all the plastic is off, I noticed it's just that plate that has a crack in it on both sides from flexing. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna really hit this with a saw, open that up, grind it, weld it, and make this smooth again. But I'm gonna come in here and I'm going to clean out this joint here, and I'm going to weld this joint up, which will make the cage much stronger. It's the same thing we do in drag racing. You seam weld the car. You grind all of the seams and you physically stitch all the seams together, and it makes the chassis a lot more rigid. I'm going to attach a bar from here to somewhere in this vicinity, probably an 1.5 inch bar, because that's where the reservoirs were going to go, and we're going to attach these reservoirs to that bar, and it'll be pretty clean, out of the way, and then that triangulation will help stiffen this whole back corner of this cage from flexing around. The more I thought about it, I can run a plate on here, nice big thick plate, weld it right to this bar, and have a nice foot for my 1 3/4 tube. But up here, both of these plates, the top and the bottom plate, are only like, I don't know, 0.65, maybe 0.90, but like not very structurally sound across here. The only thing that gives it its structure is the fact that it's like multi-layers and it's all welded together and it's a big box. I don't think tying this tube into here is gonna help this bar at all. I think it's actually gonna make it pretty weak. Even if I do fix all the corners and seam weld all this together, this piece isn't very structural. So I think ultimately I'm going to scrap the plastics idea. I am going to cut this guy straight off. There's a nice big thick plate here, and I'll just do an 1 3/4 bar all the way across, and then I'll tie these two gusseted into the center so that it'll be nice and strong, no dead tubes. But before we start grinding, we gotta cover the Jeep. I was afraid that like the top cap, like the whole bottom was welded and then the top cap was welded on. I didn't know how this frame was roll cage put together, but that came out pretty easy. So now we're just gonna clean that up, pull some measurements, and we'll start cutting some pipe. We got it all cleaned up. Got the old weld. I stitched this plate to this because it wasn't on both sides, and clean this all up. And this side is all cleaned up as well. Face is all cleaned up. Got it welded up in here. Got this cleaned off so that we can build a plate for this. And then I will cut that tab off. And this is my grounding tab that I threw on here. And then we'll clean this side up, put a tab on there. So now I think what we're gonna do is build a 1 3/4 inch from elbow to elbow. Next we'll measure for the diagonals, and I kind of want them to overlap a little bit so that they connect in the middle, so they'll be like completely like a nice good solid center section. And then we'll wrap those corners with corner gussets, so it'll be pretty neat. And then the bottoms will corner gusset as well. I gotta cut plates for the bars first. All right, I had to give the camera a little rest, a little break, a little R&R, but I did get 2 plates welded in. And I also cut one of these already. This side is coped at 55 degrees because that just happens to be what it came out to be. And then I just chop that off, and she fits in there just like that. Fits right in there, no gaps. And then I'm gonna chop the end off of the other one and overlap it so that they both come into the middle. So I'll show you that in a minute, but I'm gonna go ahead and get this one tacked up here so we can get the other one cut. So it fits in there perfect. So now I'm going to cut that one back out, the little tacks. And I'm going to go ahead and weld in the first bar and then put the second bar in and weld it in complete. I just wanted to make sure it fit. We'll go up here and show you before we get it all cleaned up. Centered right there, so we'll clean all that up, and that'll be the center of the tube. We get it all welded up in there. Now the plastics will actually fit back over there. I don't know about these plastics. I haven't decided if I'm going to try to make the plastics like fit back on yet or not, or if I'm just going to leave them open. I might just sheet wrap this gusset, and then up here I'm probably going to tie in some like 1-inch gussets right here. One there, one here, so that this is nice and strong. This still might move around a little bit and it might rip this. So I might just put a bunch of 1-inch gussets, and then I might wrap this or put another 1-inch gusset in here, just a little corner guy to spread the load. I don't think I need to do anything up here except for clean this up. And then we'll go ahead and try to get the reservoirs hung on here. And I'll show you that once I get this all cleaned up. All right, I'm gonna take our little corner gusset, guys, and they're gonna fit into this tube just like that. And then I'll miter them in, so they'll go both ways. They'll go up and down. and tie into there, and I think it should look pretty sweet. Gives us a lot of structure up here too. So I'll climb back up here one more time, and you will see that's the cope side, and that's the flat side. And that guy fits in there really good, so that one will go there. So that's the bottom one, and then the top one does the same thing. We got a cope side. That's about a 40 degree. So that guy fits really tight too. So we got these two, and then there's two on that side. So now we're gonna get these guys welded up and put in. All right, so this is what this bad boy looks like now from up here. Looks pretty sweet. So now I gotta find some clamps. Had to do some little bit of cleanup. There's a couple boogers on here. All right, so now I gotta find some clamps that'll work for the ADS reservoirs. And then I gotta figure out what color red paint this was that he painted it. So I'm gonna have to get a hold of Brittany for that. And I think the cage is just about done. In going to this, one thing we are gonna lose is the rear dome light for the back seat and the back. I took it out to see if I could use it. It's a little complicated to use. I mean, I could build a panel and reuse the factory one, but went through my bag of junk and I actually found these two Pro Comp rock lights from a project a while back that were left over. So I'm gonna make one in the cargo and one in the back seat. Like the rear, I might actually put on a switch so that it's not always on. I might do this one on the door, and then I'll do this one on a switch, run it down to the panel so that the back has like its own light, because I know how nice it is to have one in my Rover, and I love it. It's way brighter than the stock dome light, so that's probably what we're gonna do. We're gonna figure out and make a panel for these, and then I'll wire them up. This is what I came up with. I wanted it so that the cable could run inside. I can get a nut and a bolt through here. I was gonna do inserts, but then I have to space it down too far, and the block would be down too far, and it would look silly. So I can still get a nut in there. So we're gonna go ahead and get this tacked up there and put it together. All right, she's all up in there. Looks pretty awesome. You know what the best part is? It works. How sweet is that? So there's our rear dome light. Now I'm just gonna make another one and come off the back for the cargo light. But I'll put the cargo light on a switch and I'll run them both. Both wires will go down that tube once the clamps are on there, so it'll be hidden behind the clamps and you won't really see this wire. I will put a switch in that panel somewhere for the dome light. All right, we got it all cleaned up and unwrapped, and there's the final product. And this little mount is for the cargo area. And then these need to be rotated a little bit because the hoses won't let me rotate it, but they'll get clamped onto this bar right here. This one's way off for right now, but it's almost upside down when you put it up there. But once I get the hoses figured out, get them mounted on there, and then we'll get this thing primered and painted. But that's our rear cage for now. We also got this really cool American Adventure Lab rear table that we got before SEMA, and it has a light that went through the tailgate, but I didn't get a chance to hook that up. So this will get hooked up. I'll run all this power. I need to do this. We have heat and cool seats that I need to wire up, and I need to go through all this wiring mess that's up in here, which is something I've never gone through. I've never gone through under the seats, so I need to unscrew all that and see what I can do with all that. We are probably going to move the double compressor probably under the driver's seat, so I'm going to do that. That'll get rid of a lot of this bulk, because these kick panels, these lower panels don't really like to go on because there's too much going on inside. So I'm going to move those, shorten up all this wire, probably put the ARB under here. That'll clean up a lot of this mess and the rear window. I got to go through that. And then before we finish it up and button it up, we will dynamite the floor. But for right now, cage is done. We will be doing some wiring. But that's all we got for this one. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe and share. And remember, you can get all your Lite Brite merch and decals at litebritstudios.com. We will see you next time when we do all the wiring. Bye!
Oh, I think the camera's much worse though. Like she doesn't like that camera because it's like grainy or some shit. Just flip it around, I guess, if you're gonna do that.
Aye, 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 aye.
I know.
Oh, hi. Hi.